Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. It is That Proud Black Woman, and thank you so much for joining me on this Saturday. For those of you that are joining, you know how we mark attendance on this show. Make sure you leave a comment. Tell us where you're watching us from. If you're in Canada, leave the city where you're watching us from. And if you're from maybe the UK, Nigeria, wherever in the world you're watching us from, make sure that you leave a comment section. That's how we mark attendance on this show. So, who do I have today? I have yet another amazing trailblazer that is going to be sharing his experience with us and the strategies that he has used to be able to excel in his business and in the legal field generally. So I'm going to introduce my guest to you today. His name is Niro. He's a real estate and criminal defense lawyer located here in Toronto. He has been practicing for about 5 years now, and he practices mainly in real estate. But a small portion of his practice is dedicated to criminal defense law. Due to Niro's devoted passion for the criminal field, Niro has also completed many criminal defense trials and became victorious in most of his trials. Awesome. Anyway, Niro has been educating and mentoring lawyers. I'm one of his products, and I'm proud to say that. And even before he became a lawyer, he has been, mentoring a lot of lawyers, and he has been training lawyers. And he has now been teaching and mentoring lawyers on a weekly basis for about 3 years now. Niro was recently featured this year on CBC News, CTV News, and Global News for being the first lawyer ever in Ontario to orchestrate the arrest of fraudsters and prevent a real estate title fraud scheme from occurring. Welcome to the screen, my guest for today, Niro. Niro?
Thank you for having me, Pikimi.
How are you doing today?
Good. Same old Saturday. Gotta work.
I know. I see you in your office.
There's no weekends for lawyers. No such thing.
I know. So how is everything so far? I hope the Saturday is going smoothly for you.
Oh yeah, so far it's going well. I got my dog in the office, so he's keeping me occupied, so I don't mentally break down. So yeah, that's fun.
That's awesome. So for those of you joining, I'm going to say it again. The way we mark attendance on this show is by leaving a comment in the comment section and just tell us where you're watching us from. If you're here in Toronto, let us know. Up Toronto. If you're here from outside of the country, let us know what country and what city you're watching us from, and we can shout you out on this show. So today, I'm just going to be talking a little bit before we go into the in-depth of this. Just give us a little background about yourself. Like, why did you choose to study law and all those good stuff?
To make a long story short, I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good at science. So I think law was my thing. I was pretty good debater as a young person. And then as I got into the legal field, I noticed it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And I think I had a natural talent for it in the beginning, which I wasn't aware of. And then as I got better and better, I noticed I was training people and helping people. So I noticed I was better than most lawyers out there. But I think that was my journey. And I was able to find a career where I was actually able to help people in the process. So I feel better over time, especially in the criminal field as well. I was able to help and show that I have an impact on people's lives instead of just being like, sign papers, you're good to go, make my money. So that's what I like about real estate, and I like about criminal law. Especially with real estate, I'm able to train great lawyers such as yourselves. And I love seeing the progress, especially you yourself. How you progressed is insane, and how you became from a herd of sheep to a really badass wolf, which is one of my obviously my
talk. I was going to talk about that because I remember the first time that I ever met you, that I called you on the phone. I remember that was 2021. I was about to start my practice, and I had reached out to some other people. I want to go into real estate and I want to go into immigration, but I don't know how to go about it. And everybody was just dragging their feet. So somebody had just said, you know what? My landlord's son is a lawyer, and he's doing really well for himself. So maybe you should reach out to him. And I was kind of skeptical that you don't know me, you might just, not answer. But I said, let me call you. And you were so pleasant. You were so pleasant.
You were technically my first student. When I started the workshop, you were the first student. But when I actually trained lawyers before I became a lawyer, I had a lot of lawyers who are doing pretty well now. Some are actually doing even better than me. I'm very happy for that. But overall, honestly, believe it or not, it may sound like an old shoe, but my goal is to make lawyers better than me. And so if I don't make them better than me, then I didn't succeed in training them. So that's why I drill them hard. Well, you know how hard I drill the lawyers, but I'm very cutthroat. I try to teach you guys how to make money, to be diligent, and at the same time help people, which you guys know I preach a lot. And I'm going to be annoying about it as much as I can, so you guys can overall just be like, oh yeah, Niro told us that once in a while help people. So hopefully that does do an impact on all the lawyers
I
I teach.
remember one mantra that you have. I don't hurt sheep. I train wolves.
Yeah,
I raise
exactly.
wolves.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's true, and that's awesome. So
It's just because I have to be
yeah,
tough on you. Because if you guys are being a little soft or you're a little sensitive, I have to make you guys like stronger and wolves in the field because it's a mean world. Reality, as we know, is very aggressive. It is very like traumatic at times. So if you guys are not a shark or a wolf in the field, it's going to be hard to succeed in this business. That's why I drilled that, and it's kind of a cool motto at the same time.
yeah, true. Okay, so you in your areas of practice, you said you practice primarily in real estate, but you also do some criminal. Can you just give us a background? Why these two choices? Why did you choose?
Well, real estate, to be honest, when I started, when I was a law clerk, I was just desperate for a job. It was so hard to get a job back in the days, and I'm a UK graduate as well. And I'm not saying it's harder for UK graduates, except they look at UK graduates versus Canadian graduates in a different aspect. But once I did get a position at a real estate firm, I actually preferred criminal. But I'm like, you know what? Let me give this a shot. I tried it, and it was very straightforward. In the beginning, I was a little confused. I didn't even know what a mortgage was, and now I'm making mortgages, and some of my clients are even lottery winners who I'm doing like 30-40 million dollars of mortgages a year for them. So I got to a level where I'm advanced in that field, especially in the topic of mortgages or real estate transactions. So I was kind of thrown into it out of desperation for like a legal experience, but then I got really good at it. So I'm like, if the shoe fits, why not wear it, right? So I kept pursuing it, and I got to the point where in real estate law, I got really good to the point where I was able to train lawyers and make really great lawyers out of people. Criminal law, I just love it. I passionately love it. Like I have to say, I love it way more than real estate. It's more engaging. It's more a lot on the line. When you're in court doing trials in front of a judge, you feel like you're in a movie, and it gets a little bit dramatic. Not as dramatic as it is in the movies, but it's just that exhilarating effect. And there's no like paperwork, there's no script. You just got to think on the spot. You got to take notes on the spot. You got less than like 15 minutes to respond. It's just that adrenaline rush is amazing. And if you win, it's like the best feeling in the world. And I'm happy that I got to win my first trial, because it's like a big thing for lawyers. If you don't win your first trial, it's like, it's like a make it or break it kind of situation. So my first trial was a really hard one. It was a 5-day trial. And after I won it, I was like, you know what? I am for this field. This field is for me. So, but to be honest, real estate is very volume based, and I do more of it, and I'm more known in the community more for real estate, which is why I pursue it like 90% of my practice. And then the 10% of it, the criminal aspect, I do it because I love doing criminal law. My passion for it. I love training people in criminal law. I love just getting experience little by little. As I get new experiences in criminal law, I just love it, and I feel better as a lawyer. And when I take on a new client, it's just that exhilarating feeling that, oh my God, I love this case. It's such a messed up case. Most of the cases are really messed up, but the more messed up the cases are, the better and excited you are. And the harder the case is, most people would think, oh, lawyers would like stress themselves out, like, oh my God, this case is so hard. What are the chances of me helping this guy? But those are the best cases, because if you find a solution out of that small situation, you feel better as a lawyer that you somehow use your brain. There was no textbook that helped you answer the question. You literally use the legislation to your advantage and mold it to get your client out or to get them a better deal. But that's pretty much overall the journey aspect of it.
Oh, nice. So when we're talking, you said you train lawyers and you mentor lawyers. Yeah. How did you find yourself that, you know what, I want to train lawyers? Being a new lawyer at the time yourself,
it's a funny story, I guess. I'm pretty sure none of my mentors are watching this, but before I became a lawyer, you heard this before too, I had terrible lawyers. I had terrible mentors. I had lawyers that used me for many years, paid me under minimum wage for 3 years straight, and I never whined at all. I just took in the knowledge. I knew the power of knowledge, so I took in the amount of knowledge as I could, but then I think I was getting to the point where I was getting really good at my job, where my mentors were kind of getting threatened. So they actually stopped teaching me. So because of that, horrible experience. I'm like, I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. And even in the criminal field, when I had a criminal mentor, I unfortunately had a terrible mentor who's actually known in the field for being a terrible lawyer, which I found out later. But that type of mentorship made me more raw, made me stronger. If anything, I loved it. It was a terrible experience, but it didn't break me, which is what I'm trying to say. It made me, if anything. So that's why I'm able to like take that experience and be like, you know what, I actually genuinely don't want this to happen to anyone else. So why don't I go out of my way to help people so that I am not a hypocrite. I am not trying to use people. And obviously I've trained you guys for 3 years for free with not a single dollar. So you guys can go, it's coming out of my heart. And every class, my goal is to make you guys money, not just to teach you like the basics of law, the history of law. I don't want to waste time with that. I want to teach you guys to become successful lawyers. So I'm like, as you know, you've been in my class. I teach you guys practice management. I teach you guys social skills. I teach you guys how to make money, how to charge, how to hustle. So I'm trying to pretty much make a better business structure for you. On top of that, throw some legal content in it. But to summarize everything, I had terrible mentors. I didn't want anybody to go through it. So I started this thing called Niro Law Workshop, where I train lawyers and go out of my way. And I pretty much lost my Sundays because of you guys.
I know. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we go into the importance of mentorship in the legal field or in life generally, I know that anytime I attend your workshop, you're always not only teaching us how to make money, but you're also teaching us how to be considerate to our clients. You know, don't overcharge, because these people, you're always saying something like, they work so hard to get that money. So you have to be very, very good at what you do. At the same time, you have to do it with a heart. So where did that come from? Like, for you having compassion for your clients as well?
Truly, it comes from immigrant parents, I think. Like, obviously, when my parents came, till this day, they've been in Canada for over 20 years, and they still struggle to speak English because that's the usual immigrant parents. They don't want to learn. But like, how far they've achieved for not even learning the language is insane. Like, and then we're lucky to have what we have as it is. But because we're somewhat not super privileged, but we're getting to that privileged level, we're not considerate of how hard it was for people to even get us to this level. We're almost thinking that as if our parents just came to this country and somehow they just made money. It just landed in their pocket and they're like, oh yeah, go to school. Let us help you pay for law school. That's not a struggle. But obviously that's not the case. Blood, sweat, and tears went into making me a lawyer. So that's the reason why I'm very considerate of every client that comes in. I think of them as my parents or my aunts or my uncles. And I'm like, they work hard. It's like, lawyers, yes, we charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 and all that. And we don't think that how long did it take for this person to make the $2,000? It must have taken them like 2 months, and I'm taking that away from them within seconds. So that's why I try to train lawyers that you guys have to understand. Yes, we make money at a decent level, and our fees are a lot higher than what people get paid on the average basis, your average labor worker. So as such, you guys should have to consider the fact that just charging them $2,000-$3,000 is not just like a number for them. It's actually like, oh my God, that's 3 months of work. How am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to put my kid through this summer camp? If I pay this lawyer, I'm really screwed. So that's why you need to consider the fact that yes, charge reasonably, but don't charge ridiculously, because being a lawyer is a privilege, which a lot of lawyers still to this day don't understand. They just think that they're high on their pedestal, thinking that we're God's favorite gift on earth. We're not. We're just like any other person. I shouldn't even be saying that, but unfortunately I do have to remind lawyers that you're just like any other person. You're the same person as your value is the same person as anybody working at Tim Hortons and working at a law office. Same thing. It doesn't make you better as a human being. However, as a lawyer, it's a privilege. So please take into consideration how hard people work to make their money to pay you the $2,000-$3,000, because it's not as fast as how you make it as lawyers. And then I think as lawyers in the province of Ontario are understanding that just because we studied hard and we became a licensed lawyer, we can do whatever we want because we deserve it because we studied so hard. What about the people that put you through the school? What about the people that got you up and fed you and made sure you were good to go or had enough energy to even study for your exams? But that is never in consideration. It's only the fact that I finished law school, I became a lawyer, and everything else goes out the window, which is very selfish if I were to say for lawyers. So we just had to bring our pedestal down and understand the basics of how we got there. Go back to your childhood days and bring yourself back to when you became a lawyer. And that struggle, that whole entire transition of struggle is what's going to help you become considerate of people's feelings and considerate when you're charging people. And I still struggle to charge people. And the worst part is I know I'm really good as a lawyer and I could be charging double what I have, but I don't know, it's like a conscious problem. When I charge people and I see a number and I'm like, you know what, I do deserve more money. I should be charging this gentleman or woman easily $1,000 more. It hurts me because I don't know what it is. I just know how hard it was for me to make that $1,000 when I was before I became a lawyer, and I had 3 jobs when I was trying to go through law school and stuff, just making even. I remember how much $1,000 took to even get. I think it took like me weeks to get $1,000, and now I'm taking it away from clients like that. So I think that's what makes me very considerate and genuine. And I obviously have really competitive pricing, which I even had a client that made fun of me. He said that your prices are too low. I don't believe it. Can you call me and explain to me why your prices are too low? That was going too far. I honestly did not call that gentleman because that was like a spit in my face. But that's how bad my fees are. But at the end of the day, I feel better about myself. I can sleep better. And regardless of the fact, I'm going to be successful in this field. I'm going to do well, and I'm gonna make successful lawyers in this field. I hope I make a couple hundred to 1,000 of them. So my question is not whether or not I'm going to be successful, which I taught you guys many times. The real question is, be confident that you're going to be successful. But again, the real question is, how many people can I help on the journey to success? That should be the real question. That way you can feel better at yourself, and you can feel like a god of a lawyer, or whatever you feel like you are when you're on your high pedestal. But yeah, that's overall why I'm very considerate of people's feelings. I guess the immigration aspect of it.
Yes, that's true, because I'm an immigrant as well, and truly, before I became a lawyer, to make 1,000 was what you're gonna work weeks, truly, and as you're making that money, you might not even be able to save because you have bills waiting for you, you have rent, you have food, you have all of those things. So truly, that should be taken into consideration. Now, talking about the mentorship aspect of it in life, everybody talks about how important mentorship is and all of that. But let's bring it to the legal field now. What do you think is the role of mentorship in the legal field, be it vertical or horizontal type of mentorship? Like, speak on both of them.
The mentorship aspect, it's hard. It could be a little bit of both, because as a mentor, if you're talking about the vertical aspect, because I have to create knowledge to myself. So that'll be the vertical aspect. I have to acquire myself with knowledge so I can teach the other person. And on top of that, the knowledge has to be accurate. I can't just do a Google search and just take whatever article's word for it and then just teach you guys. Then most likely that article is wrong and I didn't even look into it. The the horizontal aspect is pretty much being humble and understanding that as a mentor, that it's a privilege. It's not an opportunity. And I said that over and over again, that people think that it's very easy to be a mentor as a lawyer because people think that, you're so educated and so smart. That is not the case. A lot of lawyers, as you know yourself, Akimi, are not the smartest people. I'm talking about not even the average smart people. They somehow got their degree and they've got their license, but they are not your average smart person. However, anybody that goes to them, they will easily jump on the same lawyer's their terrain and be like, please mentor me, you're a lawyer, and they can get the worst advice ever. So that's why it's a privilege to be a mentor as a lawyer, any field, in accounting, as a doctor, whichever field, IT. However, you have to understand that you have to be humble to the point that if I teach this person the wrong thing, they're going to go and practice it. And then on top of that, they're going to tell other lawyers in the future when they become seniors that, hey, this is how I was taught. So it's pretty much a butterfly effect. And I started that butterfly effect by telling you guys the wrong information. So it has to be a privilege and not an opportunity to mentor people. And then it's a crucial aspect that I wish I could drill into every lawyer's head, because a lot of them are taking advantage of it because they feel better. They have an ego complex, and when people ask for their mentorship, they just say anything that comes up. And even if they don't know the answer, they'll still say it, which is highly dangerous. Even about, like, for instance, I'm a real estate lawyer, and when clients ask me about tax questions all the time, and I tell them, like, you're asking the wrong person. And if I answered it, you should actually be concerned. Like, why is a real estate lawyer answering a tax question? And whereas he should have been telling me, go to my accountant and don't even ask me, which is what I do. I don't yell at them, but I drill them, like, guys, be careful. I could have easily made up something and told you and you would have followed it. However, I'm not that type of lawyer. You should clearly go to an accountant and inquire with them with respect to tax questions. I could tell them if I'm confident about a certain subject, like say capital gains exceptions when you sell a house, if HST rebates, like very small stuff that lawyers practice on a regular, then I would advise them on that. But if they have a tax question which I've never heard of, or about a claiming or getting an incentive or a tax write-off, I would never answer that question. But some lawyers will, because they don't know how to shut up, unfortunately.
Yeah, sometimes I think ego also plays into it. Like, how
Exactly. Ego,
would
ego
I
has a
say
huge.
I don't know as a lawyer, because people are expectant to
Exactly.
know, So that could be it. So now let's go a little bit back again to your background as to how you started Niro Law. So has it always been your dream that, okay, you know what, once I become a lawyer, I'm going to start my own law office or law corporation? Like, how did that dream come about?
Well, that dream was a traumatic event, actually. It actually started. I remember my game plan was be a lawyer, work for a law firm for about 5 years or so, and then learn the ropes, and then become start your own firm. That was the game plan, which I thought would happen. But after, like I said earlier, poor mentorship happened in my life, and I was like, I am not working for anybody anymore. I'm done with this. And the worst part is I found out they were underpaying me, which I don't really care about, but paying someone for 3 years under minimum wage is kind of drastic. And I never once asked for a raise. And then the second part is the fact that the money honestly didn't bother me at all. I could make my own money. I can get a job and do a side hustle. But it was the education part. The fact when I found out one of my mentors was actually stopping me from learning, like literally right to my face, they actually stopped me from learning something. That's when I took it personally, and I literally quit like 2 weeks later. Because I took it offensively. I'm like, you're already underpaying me. Why are you doing this? Like, I'm not asking for much. Why would you have to stop the education aspect of it? Because that doesn't cost you a single dollar. Obviously, they were threatened by my, I guess, potential. And as such, when I became a lawyer, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to apply for a law firm. I'm just going to try my own thing. It was torture in the beginning. It is really hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't hard. It is hard to start a firm. As you know yourself, you got to do the logo, you got to do the marketing, you got to do the accounting, you got to do the social aspect, you got to do the networking, and then you can actually start your job. So you haven't even started your job as a lawyer yet, but there's like 1,000 things to do before even practicing as a lawyer. But yes, it was blood, sweat, and tears, but I loved it. Honestly, I don't know what it is. I'm somewhat stress driven, and I love knowing the fact there's a chance of failure. It excites me. And the fact that I didn't fail obviously excites me more, but the notion that there was a chance of failure, it just, I don't know, it gets me going. It's like the fun part of my life. And then I opened up a decently sized office. I was able to hire lawyers. I was able to hire law clerks, and I was able to now teach people how to do it. And then the best part is I made a ton of mistakes, an insane amount of mistakes of developing my business. But I took those mistakes and I was able to teach, obviously, lawyers such as yourself to avoid making those mistakes so that you guys don't have to go through what I did. But overall, that's pretty much it. How my intentions of starting my practice began.
So at what point did you now say, you know what, I'm a solo lawyer, I need to start hiring other lawyers, and I need to start hiring law clerks? Like, because for a lot of people, they struggle for years. They've not even made enough for themselves. Talk more of making more money to then hire people and then pay salary and all of that. So at what point of your business did you get comfortable enough to say, yes, now I can, employ help?
It's actually a really good question. It would help actually any business owner, even if you're not a lawyer. I think it would help most business lawyers for them going forward. It pretty much means, like, if I had to explain, I did well in networking, and then like the volume started going up in the field. So as the volume started going up in the field, I was like noticing I'm only human. I don't have like 3 or 4 or 5 hands to type, and I can't print at the same time. So I noticed, I'm like, what if I hired another lawyer? Yes, it's going to be expensive, but why don't I try it? So when I did take the risk, I went on Indeed to put up an ad and everything. I hired the lawyer, and it was hard in the beginning because I didn't know anything about payroll. I don't know how much to pay them, but I gave it a shot. And then it's honestly trial and error. It is in this field, but now after hiring a bunch of lawyers in the past, I know the standard salary rate. I know the taxes, like the HST remittance, how hard you're going to get hit on it. And boy, did I get hit hard. And then, yes, you have to go through a little bit of torture when you're hiring staff, but honestly, it was one of the best decisions I made. The peace of mind is what you're paying for. You're not paying for just the person doing the work. You're paying for the peace of mind that you have someone able to sign on your behalf. You have someone who's a lawyer who can speak and give advice, and it's not a law clerk. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, what if my law clerk accidentally gives advice to someone? So when business owners start, yes, we always think about, I could save so much money if I don't hire this person. That's the first thing everybody thinks of. I'll save like 5 or 6 or 8 grand a month if I don't hire this person. However, what they don't see is that the potential of growth is drastically slow. If you don't hire someone, there's no chance of you growing. And if you don't spend on someone and give them the work, you won't have any free time. So there's no chance. That's what I mean by there's literally no chance of growing with just doing it on your own, because you're only human. You only have literally 2 arms and 2 legs, and you could only do so much. And you have to sleep, unfortunately, because we're humans. And as such, we need not just labor help. We need another person to contribute to the workload, and that's the only way of growing. Honestly, there's no way. I've never heard of one lawyer just on their own, maybe with just one assistant, just growing phenomenally big. That's never heard of. I still, to this day, I've not heard of one lawyer that did that on their own, because it's literally impossible. Not because the person is not smart enough to do it. It's literally the workload is so much. It's not humanly possible. So I think every business owner needs to understand that once you understand the aspect that it's not humanly possible, it's not that I'm not phenomenal at my job. It's literally not humanly possible because of our human characters, and that we need to sleep and eat and such things. Because of that, we need to hire someone so that we can balance everything out, and then I can grow my firm. And yes, you have to spend thousands of dollars. That's part of the game. But if you don't take a risk, then to be honest, there's a very slow chance of success. And it's in every field, not in just law. It could be in opening a restaurant. It could be an IT sector. It could be anything. But every single business owner knows that if you get a peace of mind from hiring someone, you lose a couple $1,000s from hiring someone. However, there's no chance of growth without hiring someone. So once you understand those 3 elements of business growth, I think you will succeed. However, there will be torture in the beginning. That I will not deny. I will be lying to your faces if I said, oh, it was so easy to hire someone. It was just money just paid. It came on its own. I didn't have to worry. I just somehow ended up paying them. Money just came into my account. That's obviously BS and never first heard of. And on top of that, I don't come from like a wealthy family either. So as such, everybody has to take a risk, and you have to take that dive. You have to be a risk taker. And if you're a sole practitioner and you're very stingy with your money, you will stay at that level for a really long time. I can really promise you that. So you have to pay, you have to grow, you have to hire.
Yeah, especially the work-life balance as well, as you have mentioned. You can't eat, you can sleep, you can't even go on vacation, because then there will be nobody behind the office to do the work. And exactly as you have talked about, if you don't grow, because you can only, if you keep networking and all these businesses are coming at you, how are you going to be able to put out a good quality work?
Exactly.
So you end up losing all those connections that you have gotten, because now you're not giving them what you promised to give them. So if you are hiring, yes, you're going to lose some money, but think about it. If you were, let's say, hypothetically, you were making $10,000 a month, and then you hire someone you're paying about $4,000. Guess what? When you get all that job in, you might now be making $20,000 from that job. So at the end of the day, you're not really losing, right? You're actually making extra income, and you're growing your business along the way. So that's really good.
Exactly.
So now let's talk about the man of the hour. So you have been awesome this year, where you've been giving interviews to CTV News, to CBC News, and also to Global News about a fraud scheme that has been going on in GTA, where pretty much you travel, people can sell your house before you come back. And nobody had been able to catch these people, but you were one of the only lawyers in Ontario to orchestrate, the tracking down of these fraudsters. Can you give us a brief background about the story, and then how you were able to put that, to nail these people?
Overall, it was just like any other Google client. They Googled me, they came through a Google ad, and they hired me. I'm selling my house. I'm like, as you know, sale transactions are the easiest out of most real estate transactions. So I was like, oh, it's a pretty straightforward deal. It shouldn't be hard. I'm good at my job. So sure, I'll do your file for you. They came, they hired me. They were actually really good clients because the second I asked for something, bang, bang, emails came. I got the documents, prepped everything. We did the signing appointment. It was done virtually, but we went on Zoom. They were there. They showed their ID. They put it next to their face. We took a screenshot. We spoke to them. We explained everything to them. So they were very polite and everything. And then the deal pretty much finished. So pretty much 95% of the deal was pretty much done. And I completed the deal, and I even put the money in their account. However, when they went to pick up the money in their account, CIBC kind of called me and said, "Hey, can you verify this is your client?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, they are my clients." But I asked them, "Why are you verifying it then?" Because I put money in people's clients' accounts all the time, but I do once in a while. It wasn't an unorthodox aspect. I do get calls from banks saying, "Hey, this is a huge amount. Did you put this in?" I'm like, "Yeah." But at the same time, the branch manager, who is honestly phenomenal, and they pretty much gave me the red flag that caused me to look into it further. She said the account was new. So it was like open like a week ago. There was not even like one purchase. They didn't even buy anything from Tim Hortons with that account. And there was nothing going in and nothing coming out. The first deposit ever was my massive check. And I was like, then I got suspicious. But I'm like, you know what? That does happen. In real estate, people do open new accounts for tax purposes. So I wasn't like scared at all. So, but that red flag, and on top of that, she said that one of the ID cards, the PR card, the bank had some kind of machine that when they swipe it through, the machine gives a light that it could potentially be fraud or fake. So I asked the bank manager, so is it a fake card? And she's like, you know what? I can't tell you for sure because this machine malfunctions once in a while. It might be fake. It might not be fake. We don't know, but that's why we are calling you to verify. So even through that machine being scanned, they still can't confirm that the ID was fake or not. So they're asking the lawyer, hey, can you let us know if this is your client? The second I do, in minutes, the money's in their hands. However, I don't know what it was. My intuition told me, like, I don't know, these clients came through Google. I don't know them. Even though they were very friendly, I just didn't want to take the risk. So I told the bank manager, I'm like, just freeze the account, make up some excuse. I'm going to look into this and get back to you. The bank manager was like, sure. She froze the account. I literally drove to the neighborhood and did something crazy. I just started knocking on people's doors like a salesman. And I'd never done this before. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to try this out. What's the worst that can happen? And I'm very social as a person too. But this was happening at like 7, 8 p.m. at night. So obviously people know that people don't knock on your doors that late. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be hard to sell. People are going to be like, why is this guy here? It's going to creep them out. Thank goodness I was wearing my suit that day, so I don't look that threatening. I don't look like I'm here to rob you or anything, or I'm here to check on your hot water tank or one of those guys. So the people talked to me. I got nothing, to be honest. Most of the neighbors are like, we've seen them. We don't see them. It's been a while. We're not close to them. I got so lucky with one of the neighbors who actually wasn't even home. They had one of those Ring doorbells where you can talk to the doorbell. They were talking to me very faintly through the doorbell. So I just left my card and said, hey, when you come back, can you please give me a call? And so they came back. They gave me a call about 2 hours later after I left the area. And the neighbor said, it's like, yeah, I'm very close with the homeowner. She's not even in Canada. She's actually in China. I actually even have the keys to her house. So if she ever needs me, I go inside the house. So I'm like, oh, so you actually have access to the house. And I'm like, by the way, I sold that house. And she's like, what do you mean you sold the house? I'm like, don't worry, madam. I'm going to take care of it. Thank God you answered your phone and told me. So the next day I spoke to the culprits, my own clients, and they had no clue that I figured it out. So I told them, like, you know what? I talked to the bank and I verified your ID. You're good to go. They're ready to release the money, but please make sure you go to only this branch. This is the only branch that will release the money to you. No other branch will, because I only talked to that one manager, but you're good to go. They were actually kind of suspicious. Good thing I told the branch manager everything and I kind of planned it with her. I told her they're going to be coming, and they actually called her before going, and they're like, hey, can we come pick up our check? And she's like, yeah. You just come and have a seat and I'll release the hold and the money will be in your hands in no time. And at the same time, I coordinated with the branch manager to call the police, and we kind of told the police to come, and we trapped them at the branch and they got arrested. And then I found out, we didn't even, to be honest, the worst part is that after we caught them, I was like, good, we caught someone. The deal was kind of saved. I kind of salvaged the deal and I saved the money. And then we moved on to the next file. We didn't even look into it until the media reached out to us 3 weeks later. And they told us we're the first lawyers in Ontario to do this, because this scam has been happening for many years and no lawyer has yet to catch it. So they were curious as to how the hell did I catch it? And I told the whole story, and they're like, what? You actually went there and started like investigating? I'm like, yeah, I did the whole Batman thing. And it was
I'm
fun.
guessing it's
It
your
was fun.
criminal instincts.
Exactly, exactly. And then yeah, I ended up, being on the news and able to talk about it, and it did help my name go up a little bit, and at least people know that I go out of my way for my clients. And in this case, I went out of my way to catch my clients, so that
To
was fun.
catch your clients.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
did a lot of
So
due diligence, and then I got amended, commemorated by a lot of lawyers. They thanked me all over the province. They emailed me and they're like, "You make lawyers look good." So I was happy about that. I wanted to give lawyers a good name because unfortunately, there's not a lot of good lawyers who are considerate out there. The only lawyers that are actually hardworking and actually considerate of clients are the ones who actually called me and thanked me, and they're like, "You know what, you're the type of lawyer we need more. We That's why I mentor, because I want to make more lawyers like myself, if not better. I want to make them better than me." But yeah, that's overall everything in a nutshell.
and one of the big things that I learned from you is that you have to always look for red flags. And once there's a red flag, you have to look into it, because if it's too good to be true, possibly it's
Exactly.
possibly not true. So you have to always look for that, and that's one of the things that I walk by. Once I start seeing red flags, I don't want to work with you.
Exactly.
Some of us
Very
might
good.
not be able to go all the way to do all the investigative work that you did, but I would rather just let the file go rather than put myself in trouble. Because then, when the trouble comes rolling down, it's you have yourself to blame. So your due diligence is always very important, and that I learned from you. So now, talking about these people, did you ever find out how did they get to be that good, and how did they get to sell somebody's house who was just out of the country? Because I believe for you to sell a house, it's probably going to be like a 3 month period where realtors are taking people to go look at the house, and people are going to do their own appraisal and all of that. So how was all of that able to happen without the owner of the house finding out?
To be honest, it was like I even said it on the news media that I was impressed with the scam. I don't commend it. I would never want to commend it, but I was very impressed with it because it was so foolproof. Like, there's a reason why no lawyer in Ontario has caught these culprits, because it's so good. It's so clean. Even the license they had was actually issued by the ministry. So they actually got a real driver's license. And I think the PR card is the only thing that might have been fake, but it looked real even when you touched it. I remember asking the bank manager, "How does it feel? Does it feel like paper?" And she's like, "It feels like a regular card. It feels real to me." So even feeling it wouldn't have helped. So it was so foolproof. They had all the documents ready before I even asked. They even knew there was no mortgage. They even told me when the mortgage was removed. Like, I'm talking about the day and the year. And I was like, wow, these people know their stuff. Like, most homeowners don't know that. So that's why I thought they were phenomenal clients. They gave me all the statements. They had everything prepared. Obviously, you can tell they did some consultation. Maybe they had an agent or a lawyer working for them, or they consulted with about how does this whole process work. So they did their research really well. I'll give them that. Except they just messed with the wrong lawyer. Um, but yeah, overall, it was a foolproof scam. They had their IDs, they had everything prepared. The names matched the name that was on the property. I don't know how they got the documents. I think they maybe went into the mailbox and just took it out of the mailbox. Because I remember when I went and investigated around the neighborhood, the mailbox was overflowing because I found out the homeowners were actually away for a couple months. And then obviously they did their research on the homeowners. I don't know how they know them, if it's a personal or like a far connection, but they knew that they were not coming back anytime soon. So I respect the hustle, but I don't commend it because it was very well done, as in, like, there was no mistakes. There's literally no mistakes. I got lucky, to be honest, and I just kind of trusted my instincts, and obviously with the help of the bank. And I went with the flow. I took a risk, went to investigate the neighborhood, even though there was probably no chance of like getting anything out of it. And I got lucky. I did get something out of it, and I caught the culprits. But that's how it was. It was a really, really foolproof, well thought scam.
That's awesome. What are the chances of a lawyer like getting this kind of clients and being able to say yes, I caught them? Like it's
Very
not
low. Like, I'm
it's
not even
very low.
yeah, I don't even want to toot my own horn, but like less than a like 10% chance of someone catching them. It's like really, really low. Yeah, it's
That's
yeah.
awesome.
It's like it's like there's like almost like a 95% chance that the scam is gonna go through and they're gonna get away with it, which has been done. Like, even in Ontario alone, I believe it was like 33 or 34 for 2023. Just for this year alone, 33 or 34 of the same scam has happened, and no one's been caught. They all got away with it except the one I did. So that's how
Wow,
clean, that's how hardcore it is. And I don't blame. I think I even covered. I even I even justified lawyers in the article, saying that like I'm not better than any of those lawyers. I got lucky. So, and I even said I don't blame those lawyers for accidentally, like, closing the deal and giving the money and let the fraud from happening, because I almost did it. I literally almost did it myself. So I don't blame them for a second. I guess I'm just one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you joining us, please let us know where you're watching us from in the comment section. Is it Canada? Put your city. If it is outside of Canada, let us know what country and what city you're watching us from, because that's how we mark attendance on the show and we can shout you out as well. So now, let's say, for example, just going around the same topic. Let's say, for example, now you didn't catch these and these people went, like they took all the money and went out of the country. What then happens to the homeowner and the person that just bought the house? Like, who gets the house back?
It's pretty much title insurance. Title insurance is the only one that comes in. Home insurance kind of steps in as well. I don't know the whole overall, like, the protocol for it, but from what I've heard, for a house that was actually the same scam happened, I think a month before me. It was a huge house. I think it was like $2 million that they got from selling the house, and they got away with it. So insurance had to come in, and I think they spent about $2 million of their own money to like cover the expenses. But thank goodness they had coverage done for that. Overall, it was, I think I would say title insurance and home insurance is what covers it. I don't know the whole protocol to be exact, but there is a lot of back and forth. Lawyers are going to get involved. They're trying to fix it. But I don't know how long the process is. I was told it takes sometimes 6 months to a year to fix the whole process. The person who loses out the most is the buyer, not the seller, because the seller just gets their house back. But if you're wondering who the main victim is the buyer. The buyer is always the main victim. Even the lawyers kind of get away with it because they get paid and they close their file. And it's pretty much their client that gets screwed over.
So what would be the implication for the lawyer that then closes the file? They did their due diligence, as you said, it looks authentic. They paid out the funds and all of that. What would be then? Would they get in trouble as well, or?
The due diligence, they won't get in trouble as long as they did the minimum. So if they did the minimum of, like, say they did their searches, they got their IDs, they maybe took a screenshot during the signing appointment, if it was virtual, or if it was in person, you can't really take a screenshot. You're just going to get hand signature. As long as you did the minimum due diligence, they won't get in trouble because they could easily excuse themselves, because they were, like I said, we're not all in fraud professionals or fraud preventing investigators or anything like that. So we're not trained for that in law school. So as long as you're trained to do the due diligence, you can get away with it and you won't be in trouble. And most of those lawyers didn't get in trouble. They feel, unfortunately, they feel duped. They feel like they were fooled, and it's kind of like an ego. It kind of hit on their ego, and that's pretty much it. And over time, it's gonna kind of like not tarnish their reputation, but inside it kind of hurts. Like, I was once hustled, and it will go away. Time will heal it, but that's the pretty much only damage
from it as well.
But if a lawyer, for instance, didn't do the IDs properly, they just kind of like saved the IDs and they didn't even notice that the IDs expired and they just saved it and finished the deal, then yes, you will get in trouble, as you should be, because you're kind of just doing it for the volume. You're kind of just closing the deal and not even caring about your clients. You just want to get paid. And because you were such in a rush to get paid, you're about to lose your license as a lawyer. So that rarely happens. Most lawyers do the minimum. It's rare that you'll find a lawyer that doesn't get the IDs and all that done properly. But like I said, if you do the minimum due diligence as a lawyer, you're covered, and the insurance will take care of the rest. And you just have to coordinate and facilitate the recovery process. You're kind of calming your client down. We'll work together. This is the first step. Let's let the appropriate parties aware of what happened. Now let's go to the next step. All right, let's deal with the money. Okay, now let's go to the next step. So that I believe is the 6 months to 1 year process of rectification. But yeah, it's unfortunate that the only victim is the buyer, not the seller.
Oh, that's awesome. So now let's just talk about lawyers in general. Like, what would be your advice for aspiring lawyers who are looking to thrive in this very competitive area of this field of law? What would be your advice for up and coming lawyers?
It is, like I said, it is a sensitive topic when you're asking a question like that. But like I said, for you, I really care about people's mental health and their well-being. So that's why I said, like, yes, you'll make money as a lawyer, but that's what they're chasing. So that's your biggest mistake. In any field, you shouldn't chase the money. You should just be confident that you're going to be so successful in such a field that you're going to make money no matter what. Like I said, the real question should be, how can I help people on the journey to becoming successful, which I'm going to be. It's inevitable that I'm going to be successful. That's the confidence you should have. And then another thing that people who aspire as lawyers, that they always think about the small time money. And I hate that. I hate that truly, because kids come out of law school, they have literally no experience at all. I could literally easily hire clerks that are way more valuable and actually bring an asset. They are an asset to my practice. And these kids who come out of law school, they don't know anything. They can barely explain what the term of mortgage is, but they want to get paid through the roof. And I'm like, so I'm paying you to lose money because I'm training you. So literally, I'm paying you. If you do the logic of it, I'm paying you to lose money. And like, what kind of person would do that? But these are lawyers who can't put this together. Unfortunately, they're so smart, but they can't put together the fact that someone's paying me to lose money because I don't know what I'm doing. However, if I came with experience, which is what I tell all these students and all my students to do, is to get experience in the field, learn as much as possible, and do it for free if you have to, because once you get hired, you can be like, yeah, I have 2 years of experience in real estate. I worked for free at this office. I made a ton of money. I got a ton of experience. I could be easily a massive asset to your practice because you don't have to train me. I can start work right away, and boom, that's when the salary and all that starts happening. But not in the beginning. You have to make sacrifices in the beginning. But overall, what I would tell students is that just get experience. Keep your pedestal low, and do what you like. Don't get into a field for the money, because we all know as lawyers that the mental health part is pretty bad, and it's a high stressful environment, one of the highest in almost compared to any other occupation. So they don't see that coming until they start. So once they start, they break down mentally, and they're like, oh my God, this is so hard. I don't think I can do this. I don't know why I became a lawyer. And on top of that, they don't even like what they're doing. They got into a field that they never liked in the first place, and now you have to do it for the rest of your life because you chased after the money. So number one, do a field that you like and try it, experiment. Number two, get experience, work for free. Don't chase after the money yet. Think long-term, think about the big bucks, not the small bucks. And number three, be humble. Overall, just be humble and be grateful, and know that you're going to be successful, and strive to help people because you're going to be successful no matter what. That's the attitude is what I'm focusing on.
That's awesome. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to just shout out those that have been dropping comments. Moyo Emmanuel, thank you so much from New Brunswick for joining. Datari, thank you so much for joining from Windsor. Let's see who else is here. Chris, thanks for joining from Toronto. Manua, thank you for joining from Nigeria. Modupe, thank you also from Nigeria. This is also Moyo Emmanuel from New Brunswick. Tammy from Toronto, thank you for joining. Evelyn from Toronto, thank you so much for joining. And we appreciate those of you that are joining. If you have not marked attendance, what are you waiting for? Leave a comment in the comment section so that we can shout you out. So now, I think there's a question. Okay, so what is the role of the mortgage broker if they actually brought in the fraudulent seller of property?
That question, to be honest, wouldn't work because the fraudulent seller wouldn't need a mortgage broker. So that's why the mortgage broker doesn't have a role for the seller. They only act for the purchaser. So to be frank, they have no role for a seller. It's only for the purchaser. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So being different can be very intimidating because, especially for the theme of the season is dare to be different, which is why I brought you here, because you will do things differently in the field. So that could be intimidating, and that could also be very challenging. So how do you stay true to yourself and your values while pursuing, your goals and dealing with all the obstacles that comes with it?
It's a good question. There is a time where when I started, I was like, I just want to help people. Then I found out that I can't afford to help people because I'm going to I was digging my own grave. I was like, oh my God, I can't charge low fees anymore because why am I struggling to help people when I could barely run my own business and pay my staff? I got people to feed and they kind of make a livelihood off me. So I have to focus on them as well. Then I became my business side of my mental, I guess the business hustler side of me came out, and the mindset changed. And the business mindset is pretty much like you have to break even to help people. And if I want to help an abundance of people, I have to make a lot more money. I can't do that while I'm breaking even all the time. So that was a hard, touchy subject, because in the beginning I was very giving, and I noticed that even my own staff were telling me like you have to increase your fees, and it's weird when your own staff are telling you that because you're paying them. And then I did start increasing my fees a little bit, just at a reasonable rate. I started getting better at my job. I started networking. However, I noticed that I was getting a little bit desensitized, and it is a very sensitive subject for lawyers. As you practice in the field, your passion goes out the window. You just start caring about making money and breaking even and having enough money to take care of your family, and you forgot why you got into the field. The whole part about helping people just goes out the window. And some people, even they justify it, but they don't care. They even say, I help people all the time, but I charge them 3 times more than the average lawyer. So how does that even make sense? But people just say that so they can feel better about themselves when they go to bed. But it does help me stay grounded. There's stuff like, for instance, I had a client that came in, had a small thing they asked me to do, and I did it. And yes, I could have made a couple $100 out of it, but this person was struggling. So I decided to do it for free, to the point where they're like, no, I feel bad, Niro, I have to pay you. And this was literally a couple of minutes before I started this podcast. And she was wanting to pay me. She's like, you helped me before, please help me. It's like, let me pay you something. And literally I had to argue with her. And I felt better about myself. It kept me grounded, that I was able to like easily charge her a couple hundred. And I didn't, because I know that the money she saves by not paying me will go a long way versus how I can use the money. So once in a while, I do these freebies and I do these pro bonos when I can. However, I have to understand that there's a limit, and I have to put my foot down when I have to charge reasonable fees so I can run the business, or else these people will never get this type of service in the first place. So that's why it is a sensitive subject, because as lawyers, I did see myself getting a little bit desensitized, as in like I almost forgot about my passion in helping people. So I had to like calm myself down, bring myself to the ground, and then tell myself that why did you get yourself into this place in the first place? And even if I have to burn down the business, you have to stay down true to my passion. Like, it's like the mentality I have. I wouldn't burn down my business, but in my head I'm saying, even if I have to suffer more, I will do so, just so I can help people. That way I know that I'm still doing this for the right reasons. It is terribly hard, honest to God. It's very hard. It's not as easy as people think, staying true to your principles. But it helps, to be honest. It shows that you're a strong person. You have willpower. And I like that challenge. I kind of challenge myself. It is you versus you in this field. And it shouldn't be you versus your neighbor, because you're only trying to impress yourself. So you should develop your talents, develop your skills, your knowledge, and impress yourself. Not like, I want to be better than this lawyer across the street. And but that is a very good question. Lawyers will get desensitized. It's inevitable, but you have to control yourself and catch yourself and be like, you know what, I'm becoming more less considerate of people's feelings. So I have to catch myself and bring myself down to the level where I used to be. And once in a while, I still do that.
Okay, so now I'm going to piggyback on what you said about you teaching people and mentoring lawyers. And also you have this business that you have to continue to grow. Is there at a point where you get overwhelmed by lawyers coming to you for questions, lawyers coming to you for mentorship, and then you still have to do your work?
Sorry, can you say that question again? I got distracted.
Okay. I said, I'm going to piggyback on what you said about mentoring lawyers and teaching and training lawyers. And then you also have your business to run. You have staff that needs to be fed and all of that. Does it get overwhelming at some point that you can't continue teaching at this point?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, there's days where like, you guys see it. Like, there's times where I remember I had injuries and I had broken bones and I ripped my shoulder and I still wanted to teach. I love teaching. It's just it does take a toll on you, but I think the reason why I do it too is because I try to stay true to my principles. Like I said, it's one of those aspects where it keeps me grounded. And there's times where I don't want to wake up and I just want to sleep in, and then I'm like, oh, I got to teach my class. Yes, it happens almost like every other week. But when I start teaching you guys and I start noticing how much you're obtaining and absorbing from my class, I feel better about myself. And it reminds me, I'm like, oh, now I know why I do this all the time, why I torture myself. But I would be lying to you if I said that, oh, I love it, it doesn't bother me, it never gets in the way, I just love getting up and, just giving my Sundays away kind of thing. Like, no, I don't. But I love knowing the fact that I had an impact on this world. And it's an old line of Tupac Shakur. Actually, I like to quote. I quoted it actually in university mentorship events as well. And then the kids are like, "What?" Some of them were like, "Who is Tupac Shakur?" And I was like, "Damn, that's insane." But well, he said a line, and actually it was in an interview, and it made so much sense to me. I'm like, that defines me. That's literally what I want to do. And what he said in the interview is that he doesn't want to change the world. He just wants to spark the mind that will change the world. And that makes so much sense. And then that's what I want to do. I want to make a huge impact. And hopefully out of the hundreds of lawyers or thousands of lawyers that I teach, hopefully one comes out to change the world, or maybe more than one. And then that's pretty much, I'm happy with that. I'm satisfied I did my job. And that's pretty much what I want to do. I just want to spark the mind that will change the world.
Will change the world. I like that. I think I'm going to steal that.
Exactly.
Okay, so now, what are your future goals, not just professionally, but also personally, like in the years to come?
My future goals: build a bigger practice, train phenomenal lawyers, make sure my staff are fed, and obviously have a name in the community. But in overall, my long-term goal is actually to teach. It's because of you guys. I have you guys to thank for, because I got really good at teaching lawyers, that I enjoyed it, and I noticed I can make a quick impact too, a faster impact and a quick impact. And I don't teach like stuff that's useless. I go right to the point. I'm very blunt about it. So I'm like, why don't I take my talent that I have and apply it in the real world, but at a vast pace? But I could only do that if I become a professor. But my long-term goal is pretty much build enough staff, generate enough business, and have the practice run on its own course while I become a professor and teach at a college or a university. That way I know I can look back that my lawyers are taking care of my business while I'm able to teach. And once in a while I'll peek in, I'll start touching some files, to kind of feel refreshed and kind of like, get my blood boiling again. And criminal, for instance, I would never ever leave. I'm probably going to do that until I die. Real estate as well, I'm probably just going to go into it and check up on it and make sure my practice is running well and the lawyers I trained are running it well. So that's my goal, to have a business that kind of self-sufficient, so that I can go into the field of teaching and become an academic, and so I can make a greater impact on future legal licensees, pretty much overall.
Oh, that's awesome. So now we are coming to the end of the podcast. So let's say some people joined late, or some people joined early but they left. If there's anything that you don't want them to forget today, that you want them to have in their hand and they never eat with it, in their left hand and they never eat with it, what is it?
Okay, I guess this is something people can take from just not even being a lawyer, just being a business owner, that it's going to be hard. It's going to be definitely hard. It's going to be sacrifice. So don't ever think it's going to be easy. Don't go into it saying that if I do everything perfectly, there's no chance I'm going to struggle. No, you will struggle. You actually struggle more because you did it perfectly. So if anything, prepare for mistakes. But I truly believe the best way of learning is through failure, because failure is like a scar. When you have a scar on your hand, every time you look at it, it reminds you of that time that you fell on something or something cut you. Same thing. Failure is like a scar. Every time you have a failure in your life, you'll never make that mistake again, because it's somewhere scarred on your body. And then so accept failure. Want it, welcome it. If anything, don't be scared of it. Always welcome failure, but don't strive for failure. Never strive for failure. Just welcome it. It's gonna happen. And then take risks. If you're as a business owner, take risks, learn, educate. And try to be humble. That's what I would say. Try to be humble, try to be genuine. And I think everything after overall what we spoke about in this entire podcast, I really want to focus on is the mental aspect, that if you're mentally strong, you can destroy any field, law, doctor, any field, medical, tax, any field you want. If you're mentally strong, you can overcome any object or obstacle to come. But if you're mentally weak, I will guarantee you will suffer. It's a blunt truth. I am known for being blunt, but if you're mentally weak and you know that you're kind of a softie and people's what's it called, perception of you is easily, like your criticism easily affects you, like you don't handle constructive criticism really well, then I will promise you will struggle. It's an unfortunate truth, but someone needs to say it. Like people don't like to say it. They just kind of excuse the fact that if you're mentally weak, it's okay. You can build up the tolerance. Yes, you can, but you better do it really fast, because no one's going to wait for you, because someone else is already doing it out there and someone else is already getting better. So focus on the mental aspect. If you're mentally strong, to be honest, you can do anything. You can take care of your family, run a business, teach, go to the gym, which is what I do. And it's only because I'm mentally strong. I always tell myself that I'm not lazy. I always tell even when I'm burnt out, I just force myself to work. And I think I have to thank my mental attributes for that. But yeah, I want people to be mentally strong. And I think that's one thing that people should take from this podcast.
So take care of your mental health if you want to go into business or profession or a particular profession. Otherwise, you might fail. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Niro, for joining us today. We really had a swell time, and I believe that people can rewatch this. You can, those of you watching us, you can share the link, and they can rewatch and learn a thing or two that they can also add to their own life and try for it. And we can get testimonies later. Yes, I used that strategy and it worked for me. So yes, thank you so much, everyone, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you.